prescribed burns, detrimental or beneficial? Prescribed burning is the process of planning and applying fire to a certain specific area under certain and specific environmental conditions to achieve a desired outcome. Now, what does prescribed burning do, you ask? Well, prescribed burning really it maintains and clears out the forest floor. It rids the forest of invasive species such as non-native insects, non-native diseases, non-native fauna, and non-native animals. Prescribed burn also promotes seed germination, and it also mitigates the potential of a nasty wildfire occurring that kind of boils out of control. And not only does it do this, but it also reintroduces new nutrients into the soil and really, kind of gets the soil back to life. It takes a little bit of time, but a prescribed burn really is beneficial to the forest. Prescribed burn, it mimics the natural ecosystems. Early on, before European settlers got here, fire was an occurring thing in the natural ecosystems of the forests. It was a necessity. It was the maintainer. It was the gardener of the forests. It was trimming, thinning, and clearing, getting rid of all that unnecessary stuff in the forests that really kind of choke the forest, like a collar on a dog. If it's too tight, it can't breathe. So until it cleared or until loosened, the forest really wasn't able to breathe, and fire was a loosening of that collar. Fire, think of it as the forest's antibiotic. What does it really do? Well, it minimizes the spread of pests and insects, and that also allows for the forest to grow healthy and for the plants to flourish. Not only does it do this, but it also mitigates the potential for disease, and it really kind of gets rid of, and it also gets rid of the insects and the fungi and all the viruses that really just kind of destroy forests and trees and habitats for animals and other plants. Also, it removes non-native species that compete for the same exact resources and same exact habitats that the native species are there for. So fire really does do a forest good. Also, it improves habitats, and it also encourages new growth for plants, and it also gives animals new habitats when the fire is gone. Fire is natural, so let's just act natural. It's not so scary. Historically, fire has been used to clear, maintain, and also reinvigorate the forest and bring health back to bring back to the ecosystem. Fire allows the forests to regrow faster, it allows them to be more resistant, and it also promotes natural thinning, allowing the forest to maintain a healthy balance and have space readily available for new, healthy growth. However, fire might be the prescription for the forest, but is it the prescription for you? Fire and prescribed burns pose certain threats. These threats include smoke pollution, carcinogens, hazardous action and hazardous risks, uncontrollable fires for a potential that, if not done correctly, can really spew out of control and turn into a wildfire, and it's risky. Some counteract the argument that prescribed burns are necessary. They counteract this by promoting the fact that smoke pollution is very detrimental to human health. Now, smoke pollution is 12 times more carcinogenic than cigarette smoke. And cigarette smoke is very, very deadly to the human body. The smoke from the wood attacks the body's cells up to 40 times longer and more detrimental than cigarette smoke itself. Wood smoke alone is responsible for more than 40,000 adult and child deaths per year. Wood smoke also contains a toxic soup of more than 4,000, let me reiterate that again, 4,000 chemical compounds that are harmful to humans. Within these 4,000 chemicals, there are 69 known carcinogens to the humans. These include arsenic, ozone, carbon monoxide, and sulfur dioxide. Now, these have the potential to enter the human body and scar the lungs, and also stay and cause catastrophic events for the future. However, prescribed burns do have upsides. They minimize the chances and the odds of monster fires to occur. If they take precautionary action, they get ahead of the game. Prescribed burns have been around for a while. A burn conducted in the 1950s was spread over 65,000 acres of the forest, and it reduced the forest fuel loading by 55%. And also the dead woody material that is very, very easily ignitable by roughly 70%. The positive effects were felt immediately the year after and the following years from the reduction in the amount of wildfires experienced throughout this area. Reduce the burn fuel, reduce your risk. By adding more fuel to the fire, doesn't that only make the fire bigger and more catastrophic and harder to control? So reducing the amount of fuel, wouldn't that lessen the size of the fire and make it more controllable? About 0.6 to 1.8 tons per acre of needle litter is cast out annually on the forest floor. Now these needles are very easily ignitable and can cause a dramatic wildfire if not mitigated and if not maintained. The continual reburning of these fuel on the forest floor is essential to ensure the health and reducing the risk of wildfire outbreaks in the forest itself. However, some oppose this and some don't agree. Is burning the forest really the best way to go about it? Some pose the argument that mechanical clearing by humans themselves is the best way to go about it. It reduces the amount of smoke pollution produced by burning, and not only that, it's safer. It doesn't destroy natural habitats, and it also doesn't have a risk of a monster fire outbreaking if the burn isn't conducted properly. Can a mechanical method be performed better, safer, and be more environmentally friendly as a whole? They prove to be cleaner, creating less pollution, and they also don't interfere with the animals and their habitats. Prescribed burns can have a catastrophic event on natural vegetation. Some pose the argument that if not done in season, a prescribed burn can wipe out natural vegetation and a native species. An out-of-season burn has a potential to shorten growing season and seedling survival of natural fauna to that ecosystem. An example is a prescribed burn that was done in Chaparral, California in the spring, which was an off-season time for a burn to be conducted. This killed 70% of the chamise plant and also nearly dismantled the entire population. However, it was proven that a prescribed burn done in season produced more of these chamise plants and also promoted higher growth and retainment of seedling populations. So, is it really beneficial or is it detrimental? Something for you to think about. Is fire the yin to the yang of the forest? Is it that mysterious necessary evil the forest requires? Fire is a shot of adrenaline that stimulates biodiversity. The first year after a fire is when the magic really happens. This is when all the seeds start to germinate. The soil becomes enriched with all these new nutrients. The new habitats start to arise, and the animals and the native species really start to flourish as all the invasive species have diminished and have gone away to find shelter somewhere else. It eliminates plant succession, and plant succession is the process of grasslands turning into brushlands and furthering the brushlands into woods and furthering the woods into forests. This is detrimental to grassland and prairies as it poses a threat to the species native to that ecosystem. So fire, the necessary evil, the yin to the yang of the forest. Prescribed burns It's a risky business, but risks can't be avoided, but risks can be reduced. Prescribed burns run some risks. They run the risk of pollution, they run the risk of engulfment and becoming too big, spreading into wildfire, and they also pose the risks of harming animals, fauna, and humans. However, with proper care and management, these risks can be sufficiently mitigated. Think of prescribed burns as a flu shot. They don't eliminate the risk of a wildfire, but they reduce the risk of monstrosity, which can prove fatal, if the precautionary measures aren't taken seriously. So, I ask you and leave you with this last question. To burn or not to burn? The choice is yours.